You're out after dark on the beat. Now these guys are no stranger to this programme. No, not these guys. I'm talking about these guys over here. Scott and Eric from the Stone Temple Pilots. Third time we've had you on the programme. Scott, why aren't you no longer using the handle of Weiland now? Any sort of reason behind that?
No significance. I mean, they're both my name. You know, they have a first name, a middle name, and a last name like everyone. Just, it all depends. I mean, some of my friends call me by my first name, and some of them call me by my last name.
Now, you're doing a smash and grab of in this country. I mean, you're here literally just for a couple of days to talk about your new album, the second album, which is called Purple, which was released last week. Let's talk about the title first of all. Why not black? Why not white? Why not red, yellow?
I think it's a mood. When we were writing the songs and recording the songs, I mean, obviously, there was a little bit of thought given to, you know, what the title might be. We weren't concerning ourselves with it necessarily, you know, throughout the day, but we were just talking about how the album was turning out together, having dinner, and one of us mentioned that it sounded purple, and so it just sort of stuck. Because of certain things surrounding the period of writing and recording it, we were going through some very personal traumas within the band, and so the writing of the album for myself, because due to the fact that I write the words, I was doing a lot of, I guess I'd say, reflecting and thinking and internalizing things. So it was a very personal album to me. But I mean, every human being goes through certain, you know, trying times, and when you're involved in four people, it's like Eric said yesterday, you know, a four-way all-male marriage. It's difficult to, and especially when all four people have these great egos, it's, you know, sometimes it's easy for the channels of conversation and communication to break down. I think that because of our, like, huge success in the States, and that rather than feel like it a hindrance and that hindrance causing pressure to create on the second album, I think we all felt that it was much more of freedom. And so when we were getting together to write, although we weren't necessarily getting along very well, I think we all felt this need to be as honest as possible and to let these things come out however they come out. And so there was a lot more experimental as far as once we actually got to the studio.
Yeah, it seems like on the first album it was such a need just to record the album, because, you know, to make our mark, you know, to make a statement, whereas on this album it was like out of dire necessities for our lives to record an album so that we could become fulfilled, you know, from touring so much and going through so much in the last year and a half. It just became like therapy to actually record, and then we all realized, you know, why we all do get along so well sometimes, and it kind of put everything in perspective of what the hell we're all doing together.
I don't think the album would be as strong of an album as it is, in my opinion, as it is at least, if it wasn't for the tension that was prevalent during the making of the record.
With us writing together and playing together, that was our form of communication. You know, that was the only thing that we had to say to each other.
Some of the subject matters that you looked at on the first album, I mean, included sort of like date rape, you know, men's attitudes towards, you know, women, sex type thing. What sort of things have you written about on this album? Is it a very personal album?
It's much more personal. I think during the writing and during the recording of the first record, I was sort of an angry young man, in a sense. I mean, that might sound very cliche, but I think you know, situations evolving up to that period of time. You know, a lot of the songs have been written 2 years earlier. I think I was in a different frame of mind.
There's a couple of other things that kind of sort of, you know, stuck out at me when I was reading up to my questions for the band. One is, Scott, a quote that you said, "Sex is the most important thing in the world."
Well, I think that was kind of in response to...
Can you elaborate?
Well, in a sense it is, really. It's a great positive motivating factor probably much better than money and greed. I think that was probably in response to the fact that I felt like I was being pigeonholed into this character of just being this ultra, you know, politically correct feminist, you know, poster boy. And not that those aren't things that I feel are important issues. It feels an important issue, but I definitely don't want to be defined by a political issue. It's gotten to the point where I think people are almost embarrassed of their own sexuality, and that shouldn't be that way. I mean, to respect women doesn't mean that you can't appreciate them in a sexual manner as well.
What do you do when you're out on tour? I mean, you know, how do you sort of go about sort of getting that, or do you wait until you know, the tour's over?
Well, I'm engaged. I've been with my girlfriend for 3.5 years, so I do a lot of masturbating when I'm on tour.
Can't beat that.
Yeah.
It's good for the arms too.
Builds them up. Look at these.